Kind of wanted to do the Mob Psycho 100 manga video. Mob Psycho 100 Volume 2. Here we finally have Mob Psycho 100 Volume 3. Volume 4 is out. Volume 5 is here at last. Mob Psycho 100 Volume 6, Volume 7. And now with Volume 8, we're officially halfway through the series volume-wise. Volume 9 is here at last. Volume 10, Mob Psycho 100 Volume 11, Volume 12, Mob Psycho 100 Volume 13. Here we have it, Mob Psycho 100 Volume 14, Volume 15 is at the long-awaited wait, the final volume of Mob Psycho 100 is here, Volume 16. And yeah, it's been a while. It's been some good years reading through this manga, reviewing it, and we're finally here at the very end, and we're going to cover it all in this volume here. But I guess technically this isn't the true end, because there is still Mob Psycho 100 Reagan, the Reagan spin-off set after the ending. So this is effectively like volume 17, but with like 7 chapters of its own thing, which I do already have a video of on my channel already, so feel free to check that out. And obviously this isn't going to be the last Mob video on my channel. I'm going to go through the entire series as a whole collection later on down the line, and also there's a character data book that I want to go over and cover. So yeah, don't expect Mob to just vanish completely from this channel just yet, so stay subscribed for all the other stuff. But yeah, here is the cover, which has got Mob, very plain and simple, with white on the text, but red on the side here. Yeah, this is like, I think the third one in a volume now. We've just got red covers. And then we've got Reagan on the back with a bit of the blurb at the back. And this volume is actually very interesting. It's different to how manga usually goes, because we actually have the bonus chapter they make at the very beginning of this volume instead of the end. And then obviously we've got chapters 100 and 101, Confession and Into the Future, which is funny enough. The name of the last episode of the anime, Confession and Into the Future. But obviously this volume does cover the last 3 episodes of the anime. And at the very back we do have this message from the author, with advertisement and all the other information. I will say this is quite a thick volume, like it's quite girthy in comparison to the other volumes of Mob. Like for example, get another volume. Yeah, volume 16 is definitely a lot bigger. I think this is the longest volume in the entire series as well, because this, Mob Psycho 100 doesn't usually have this many pages in, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, for about comparison, this is about the same amount of thickness as Cyberpunk Edge Runner's Madness. Yeah. Alright, so let's get into this volume. We have this front. So yeah, basically it begins with an remake. This is actually in the anime, but it's a lot before, like a lot more previous to what's currently going on. I think one must have came up with this remake pretty last minute, but yeah, it's pretty short, nothing too major. There are a few other remakes that never made it to the physical volumes, but yeah, obviously this one did, as you can tell. Yeah, then we get into like the actual main part of the story. And this is quite a long one. When this was coming out online, one was uploading chapter 100.1.2. I think it went up to like something like chapter 100.15 and all that. So yeah, this is a really long chapter that one uploaded into bits, and now it's just one big full comprehensive chapter. So now we finally get off to where we were left last time, where Mob got hit by that car just as he was going to confess to Tsubomi, but something strange is happening. And if you're an anime-only fan, you'll know that this is definitely already completely different, because, yeah, the manga, it takes a different approach to the beginning. The anime actually does a change. So we actually see people panicking, and then Mob standing up and getting up. And then suddenly, the mystery percentage takes over. Like, this is completely cut from the anime, which is kind of a shame and a bit annoying, because when a lot of people watch this for the first time, they kept thinking, oh no, is Mob angry? What's going on with him? Why is he angry? But no, the manga makes very important, and to tell you that basically this is Mob's psychic powers taking over his body, the powers he's been suppressing throughout the entire series and his entire life. And yeah, because I think the anime tried to have a bit more of a surprise approach, but honestly I feel like the manga handled this way better, if I'm going to be honest. And you'll see a bit of similarities obviously, but yeah, this beginning part is very different, and everyone's getting earthquakes and everyone's phones are cutting out, and yeah, Mob storms off, just walking in a straight line towards Tsubomi. And everyone's really freaking out because no one knows what to do. And yeah, this has been Mob's worst fear, that what would he do if his powers really went out of control and no one could stop him. So first up, Taruki shows up and he's trying to stop whatever this is. And this is a throwback to their original battle, their original encounter, where Taruki accidentally awakens this mystery percentage and he's completely terrified, and it causes him to change who he is entirely. This mystery percentage is basically like a black hole that sucks in psychic powers, and Taruki just can't do anything. He's just completely helpless. And yeah, this mystery percentage that's taken over Mob's body is just completely beating him down. But yeah, then we get a reference to their first battle where he gets all his clothes blown off and he's naked and he gets his head shaven. But yeah, Taruki manages to reach Mob inside and cause a bit of an awakening from within. But yeah, Taruki saves all the people and stops people from getting hurt, and he protects them with his psychic powers. In the anime, Taruki is definitely a lot more ripped and muscular than he is in the manga. And Tsubomi is obviously waiting for Mob, and she sees that there's a storm coming, but she stays and waits for Mob anyway. Next up, we get a bit of the members from Claw here. We get the two scars from the previous arcs, who are now retired and trying to live in a good working environment, make a new living for themselves. And then Mob's storming through, and they're ready to attack, but then suddenly that the secret government, who's basically arrested the boss of Claw, they send him down to take out this massive threat that's going on. And suddenly we get a rematch between Mob and the boss. And here you'll get a different power dynamic, because in Volume 12, their previous battle, it was pretty evenly matched and they were pretty on par, and Mob was struggling, the boss was struggling. But here, Mob's just completely one-sided, beating down the boss. That really goes to show the massive power difference between 100% and question mark percentage. What I do like is that question mark percentage wasn't used in the Volume 12 battle. Like, it's not about being the strongest or trying to reach a new level. It's, just trying to tell a good story. And, there's actually a plot reason here for the question mark percentage to be doing what it's doing. And Sho obviously shows up to try help his dad, but it's no use. Even those two, they can't do a thing against this question mark percentage. And everyone's all aware that Mob's lost control of his powers and it's taken over his body, along with Taruki, which I forgot to mention. But yeah, they manage to just escape because they realise, they can't win this, so there's nothing they can do. Moving on, we get to Ritsu, Mob's younger brother. But first, the Body Improvement Club show up, and they want to do what's right for Mob. They want to help him out because they know something's wrong. They don't understand psychic powers, but they want to help him out. And so they're all trying to help Mob and protect him, but obviously they get flung around. And there is actually one weird change here. So in the manga, as you can see, this guy here is about to get his neck pierced with a metal rod from the cracked building. And it's pretty obvious that if this hits him, he's going to die. But in the anime, for some reason they censor it a bit. They change it to just some rocks, which doesn't make any sense because there's no gore in this manga at all. This is one of those manga series where no characters really get killed off. But yeah, for some reason they censored this, no idea why. I kind of prefer it in the manga like this. But yeah, Ritsu saves him with his psychic powers, and now the brothers are about to have a showdown. And obviously Ritsu knows about this mystery percentage because that's kind of when it first shown up, when these bullies were attacking the two brothers. The mystery percentage came out and protected Ritsu, but obviously hurt him in the process. And yeah, Ritsu's really trying to reach Mob here. And Mob's sort of seeing this from the inside. Yeah, Mob's seeing this inside his own body. Like, he's basically a prisoner inside his own body because his powers have just completely taken over. But yeah, this percentage is slowly building up. And, you know, it's not actually Mob who's getting a percentage this time. Now it's someone else. And I think you can guess who. And yeah, it's Ritsu. He gets this massive power boost. Ritsu now at 100%. He's now got his own percentage, which is really cool. I guess it's Ritsu Psycho 100. But yeah, it was really cool seeing Ritsu try to save his older brother in this way. But obviously, even Ritsu at his newfound 100% form is no match for Mob at his question mark percentage. And the storm just keeps getting stronger and stronger and closer to Tsubomi. It's not a normal storm of winds, it's a psychic storm. But yeah, even Ritsu was no match for Mob in his best efforts. And at this point, it's looking like no one can save Mob. Like, all the characters of the entire series, all the people who tried to help Mob along the way, they can't do anything. Is Mob really stuck like this? And we get a bit of insight into the question mark percentage inside Mob. This is like his psychic powers, and Mob's like just having a sort of discussion within his mind because of these powers. And I think in the anime, the manifestation of Mob's powers actually look different. I think the colours are like completely reversed around in comparison to the manga. But yeah, and also a couple of these scenes are actually cut from the anime, which is interesting. But yeah, finally we get Reigen. But yeah, Reigen's not alone. Serizawa has come along with him. He's going to try to protect him. Yeah, and slowly the identity of Mob's getting peeled off and placed on the question mark percentage. It's trying to take over his body completely and erase Mob. And yeah, it's slowly taking over more and more, and Mob's slowly losing himself to his powers completely. And Serizawa, one of the strongest espers of the series, you know, former Ultimate 5 of Claw, one of the boss's closest allies, or former closest allies, even he's struggling against Mob's Psycho Wave. But yeah, it makes sense because the boss struggled, so it makes sense that Serizawa will also struggle. And we get a bit more taunting from Mob's inner self about why Mob really loves Tsubomi, why he's loved her for all these years, and all the nerves about finally confessing to her. But then, yeah, it's finally time for Reigen to try to do his best to save Mob. Yeah, and Reigen's really struggling here, because keep in mind, this is just a normal guy with no psychic powers, and he's like, you know, not going to be able to do anything about what's going on. Yeah, Mob's at this point now completely lost himself to his powers, and his powers have fully taken over. And then Reigen's trying to run over to Mob to try to save him, but he's just getting flung around by psychic powers, wind, storm, psychic storm, and just smacking into rubble and rocks. There's nothing he can really do. And then Reigen takes off his shoes here, because this is a thing they do in Japanese culture, where if someone's about to die or commit suicide, they'll take off their shoes. So he's willing to sacrifice his life here for Mob. And then he finally admits that he's been doing a secret training regimen so Mob wouldn't leave him behind in fitness. And this is the moment in the anime where the first opening theme would play. Like, that is completely new to the anime, and they added all that just for this scene, and it's really amazing. And that I will say I do much prefer in the anime, because when I first watched that, I said, wow, it was amazing. And yeah, they added a lot more running animations and scenes to get to Mob. But yeah, eventually Reigen does reach Mob, but you can't even touch him. And Reigen is just completely helpless, unable to do anything as the percentage walks off, but Reigen somehow manages to appear right in front of Mob and is able to stop him in some sort of way. Because it turns out Reigen has a secret trick up his sleeve. He bumps into Dimple. Yeah, after all this time, thinking Dimple was completely gone. No, he's back. I remember when I was reading this online a couple of years ago, way before the physical volumes came out, I was completely surprised myself, actually. I was quite shocked, so I can only imagine how the anime fan base must have felt. But yeah, it's interesting that Dimple is back and he's basically existing again. Wouldn't be right to say alive because he's a spirit, but Yeah. I've always been a little bit mixed on this twist, because I did really love Dimple's send-off and his final sacrifice and goodbye to Mob, but obviously, this does sort of make sense, like it gives a fair explanation and, a happier ending. What I do like is that in the manga it does sort of explain how Dimple has got a weirdly different shade of colour, like he's completely coloured differently, which we do see in the anime, which is quite interesting. It's like a permanent scar on Dimple that he's now a different shade of green. But yeah, eventually Reagan finally admits that he never had any psychic powers, he was lying from the very beginning, and this manages to snap Mob out of it. And Mob always knew from the beginning, but he just never really wanted to say and just went along with it. Mob knew deep down, but Mob really appreciates Reagan because he really is a good guy. Then we get a bit of heart-to-heart talk, and how it's okay if he gets rejected, and it's okay to accept yourself, and you shouldn't push down these psychic powers because it's just a personality trait. It's like being good at sports or good at drawing. It doesn't define you, it's just another talent. And how Reagan admits that he hates lying, but that's a thing of himself that he can't change, so Mob always wanted to be a normal person, and he shouldn't really change who he is and try to suppress his powers anymore. So we get 100% acceptance. We don't really get to see what the 100% is, but I'm going to assume it's 100% acceptance, because he's finally accepted his powers and now he's at a constant 100% state, and he's ready to go confess to Tsubomi finally after the entire series. And after all that, Mob only has one flower remaining. And then he goes off to Tsubomi. And he comes back, and turns out she rejected him. She only saw him as a friend, which is, well, pretty realistic ending if you think about it, because usually the main character always gets the girl and it's always this romantic thing at the end, but this is quite a realistic ending. Like, a lot of guys get rejected by really attractive girls they like. Plus it makes a lot of sense because he didn't really talk to her much in the series either. But yeah, he's upset, which is understandable because he really, really loved her. And Reagan is really sweet here and just comforts him because these things happen. It sucks, but it happens. And then we go into the final chapter. The final chapter, chapter 101. It's been about a couple of months now since the events of chapter 100. And Mob is now no longer a middle schooler, he's now a high schooler. And he's now co-captain of the Body Improvement Club. He's helping the new captain of the Body Improvement Club, this guy, because all the other Body Improvement Club members are now all graduated from school. They're too old to go to school, and yeah, but they're still in contact and still gonna, meet up and all that outside of school every now and then. But yeah, then after school, Mob walks home with Ritsu, his brother, and they have a little moment together, and yeah, they even help a cat stuck, but the cat gets itself down. And we get to see Teruki again, which is an interesting change because in the manga he gets his original haircut back. Like, he gets the haircut he originally had when we first get introduced to him, but in the anime it gives him a completely new different hairstyle, which is interesting. But yeah, we get to the Spirits and Such consultation office, Mob's former job, because now he's busy with high school and having to work on his studies and exams. He basically doesn't have time for any part-time jobs. He's got to be serious in schoolwork. But yeah, we get to see Serizawa again, and Tomi. She's basically wanted to try get work experience underneath Reagan now, and Serizawa is a good addition to the job because, yeah, it basically helps Reagan with the psychic power abilities, and he's a full-time worker, so he's not really going to be going anywhere. But yeah, everyone's all setting up already for a party because it's Reagan's birthday. It's weird to think it's been an entire year since the events of, I'm going to say, Volume 10, where it was previously his birthday. Yeah, either 9 or 10. Yeah, sometime during Season 2. But yeah, they throw a party for him. Reagan's not alone this year, not this time. And everyone comes together and does a happy birthday for him. In the anime, I think this image is actually flipped and reversed around, but yeah, it's really good to see everyone all happy and sharing together. And yeah, we get news that Mob's still friends with Tsubomi even after the rejection, and they still stay in contact and talk over the phone every now and then. And yeah, everyone's getting all emotional, especially Reagan over the party and the cake. But then Reagan drops the cake, and there's actually a difference in the anime and the manga here, because in the anime, in panic, Reagan goes to grab the cake, but Mob stops it from falling, but he face plants into it. But in the manga, Mob basically stops the cake from falling and flings it up into Reagan's face, sort of like a prank. He's now really happy with all of his friends, and yeah, what a nice, great way to wrap up the story and final end to the whole series. But yeah, I'm quite happy for Mob because he's come a long way. It started off as a series where he was a scared boy who couldn't really show his emotions, because if he did, he'd go out on a psychic outburst and not able to control his powers. And now, finally ending, laughing and crying and having all these fun emotions with his friends. And what I really do love about this series is that the final enemy of this series is Mob's powers going completely out of control. No big final battle, no evil enemies who are stronger than the previous ones. It's just gaining control over the main character's powers again, which is really amazing and so unique. I just love it so much. And it's really well put together in how all the main characters come together to try save the main character, Shigeo Kageyama. But yeah, Mob Psycho 100 is a very special series. It's very wholesome, it's very funny, it's got such cool action, really good slice of life. It's got everything you could really need. But yeah, as I said, continuing on, you can just go straight into Mob Psycho 100 Reagan, the man of the 131 max spirit power, which is basically how Reagan, Serizawa and Tomi do without Mob, like what's the business like without him and how they're thriving. Mob's not really in this, he's like near the end a little bit, but that's about it. But yeah, this is also very good. What really bothers me about this one is that when it ends, it says the end of Mob Psycho 100, and then it just says continue on by reading the main series, because this is a spin-off, but it's a spin-off set off like at the end. I think this came out like just after Volume 7 came out and before Volume 8, so I guess it makes sense, but yeah, from a chronological perspective, it doesn't really make much sense to have this at the bottom, which has always bothered me. But yeah, obviously, like I said, this isn't going to be the very end of Mob. We've still got a couple more things to go over on this channel, and yeah, I'm really looking forward for those videos to come out. I'm not sure when they're going to come out, but they might take a while. But yeah, as of now, this is like the full series in manga. I really hope we get the character data book soon, because I'd really love to go over that. If we don't get that in English, I'll just go over it in Japanese. And obviously I want to go over some of the other stuff. I'm going to do a 100% comprehensive video of this series. But yeah, that has been Mob Psycho 100 Volume 16 for me, and the rest of the single mainline story volumes. The English volumes have been going on since 2018, but now ending in 2026. And the Japanese volumes are obviously got a completely different release date schedule, because Volume 16 in Japanese came out in 2017, if I can remember correctly. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.